We appreciate you being with us.
Thank you.
How do you interpret this? Because I think you and I both would agree. On paper, the top geopolitical foe of the U.S. is China. However, you see this, you see America's best and brightest business minds. They're all here in Beijing. They're all going to be at those meetings. It seems a lot of this is based on mutual interest financially, especially.
Yeah, I think so. Number one, I'm glad President Trump is representing our country. He's the right guy to do deals. He's a deal maker. And I think he'll come out of this summit with a lot of business opportunity, getting into China's markets that have been closed. They could buy a lot from our American farmer to help the American farm economy. We can do things to help them. They can do things to help us. We got the A-team from an American point of view. But I'm not thinking about happy children when I think about China. This is going to be judged by me, if China still buys 90% of Iranian oil. They still are the #1 purchaser of Russian oil and gas. When this summit is over and we do nothing about it, we'll made a big mistake. So he's sitting across. President Trump is trying to be charming, and he's a very effective man. China's put on a hell of a show. But I'm going to judge a summit by what China does. Xi could pick up the phone and end the Russian-Ukraine war. He could pick up the phone and end the Iran conflict if he chose to. Without China buying Iran oil, they would be out of business. The #1 purchaser of Russian oil and gas, propping up Putin, is China. And my message to President Trump is that we have your back. And if China continues to do this, well, without paying a price for disrupting the world, then we'll have made a huge mistake. I've got legislation that will allow President Trump to put tariffs on China for buying Russian oil and gas, and I'll do the same thing for Iran down the road. The only thing China respects is strength. So when this is over, if they're still doing the same damn thing with Iran and Russia, and we don't punish China, we've made a mistake.
Let's talk a little bit about what would their alternative be, Senator? In other words, I think maybe it's an opportunity we really haven't spent a lot of time talking about. Sure. You're right. About 90% of the oil they get from Iran. They want those Strait of Hormuz open. It was pretty fascinating when a Chinese tanker was hit in the Strait of Hormuz. That was shocking. Maybe the one remaining ally and friend that the Iranians have at this time. And clearly there is this unholy alliance. You have Vladimir Putin, you have Russia, you have Iran, you have North Korea that have been in an alliance. The reports, it will not be ignored by President Trump. I'm sure it will come up that the Chinese have been assisting the Iranians in this conflict. But I guess, is that a prerequisite to doing other business deals in your mind?
No, I think you got to do two things at once. You try to build up the economic relationship, because over time that can change things. When you do business with people, you tend to look at them differently over time. But here's the problem. You name the allies of China, they're all dirtbags. They're aligned with the worst people in the world. They're buying oil cheaply from Iran, keeping their war machine going. Same thing with Russia. If China stopped buying Iranian oil or threatened to do it, the war in Iran would be over. All I'm asking China to do is help us open up the Strait of Hormuz, help us stop Iran from getting a nuclear weapon, because I think they would use it, help us end the bloodbath in Russia, Ukraine, that is hurting the world economy. If you help us, I will be very grateful. If you don't help us, and you continue to prop up these regimes, I will do business with you on Monday and put tariffs on you on Tuesday. And the only thing China understands is what I just said. Xi is not a crazy man. He's not irrational. If he believed President Trump would crush his economy, the Chinese economy, for propping up Putin and Iran, I think he would change his behavior. You don't need to threaten him directly, but you need to make it real to him.
Senator, we have a printout of what President Xi was saying to President Trump. It was not interpreted in real time. This is what he said. He said, "I have always believed that the common interests between China and the U.S. outweigh the differences. He said that success of China and the U.S. is an opportunity for each other. He said stability of China-U.S. relations is a good thing for the world. Yeah. He said he's looking forward to exchanging views with President Trump on major issues. And he said, let 2026 be a historic and landmark year for China-U.S. relations to carry on the past and open up the future. Now, would one alternative be, I mean, we are a net exporter of energy.
Yeah.
Is that a possibility?
Everything's possible.
That we export to them?
They're an export country. They don't have, there are 1.4 billion Chinese who live, a lot of them live in poverty. There's no Social Security, there's no Medicare. Our worst day is China's best day. They put on a hell of a show, but their economy is struggling. Inner China, coastal economy is strong. The inner part of China lives hand to mouth. I wouldn't trade places with them for all the tea in China. The bottom line here is I want a good relationship with China, but if President Trump doesn't make it clear to President Xi that your bad actions regarding Iran and Russia, fueling terrorism and a never-ending conflict, they need to change. And if they change, you'll be rewarded. If they don't, you'll be punished. If we don't communicate that, then I think we'll have failed, quite frankly, to achieve the goal of this summit for me, which is to get China to be more normal.
Look, I think you hit it at the very beginning. You're dealing with the man that is the author of The Art of the Deal. And the one thing President Trump said to me on the flight over here is said, everything is on the table. You name it, it'll be brought up in the course of this trip here. Senator, we do appreciate you being with us. Thank you for your patience. All right, thanks for watching. Check out my new podcast, Hanging Out with me, Sean Hannity. The big interviews, the debates you won't get anywhere else. Like and subscribe for new episodes every Tuesday and Thursday.